Hello and welcome to a CX Moment. I'm Sarah Reed from Zendesk, and in these candid conversations, we chat with leaders about what's happening with their business, their support centers, and with their customer experience. We love taking questions during a CX Moment, so please drop them into the Q&A and we'll do our best to get to them. And if you like what we're chatting about, please share it on social using hashtag CX Moment. In this episode of a CX Moment, we're joined by Jared Lohman, Kajabi's VP of Customer Experience. And we have a lot to talk about today, from how they're using machine learning, AI, and multiple channels, how their usage of self-service video and live chat has been a game changer. Jared and Kajabi do a lot of exciting CX experimentation, and I know you're going to want to hear all about it and ask lots of questions. But before we dive in, we'd love to hear just a bit from you. So we're going to have a poll pop up on the right-hand side of your screen, and we'd like to know about your AI and machine learning today. So how advanced is your AI and machine learning customer support strategy? We have 4 response opportunities: solid, meaning you've got it in most of your self-service; good, you're incorporating it into some of your workflows; you're still a beginner, but it'll be coming soon; or it's something you haven't started yet. Oh, so it looks like most people have not yet started with their AI and machine learning strategy. So that means we have a lot to tell people. So how you doing, Jared?
Yes, I'm great. Thank you for having me, Sarah. Hopefully you can hear me now.
Yes, we can. So for those who are watching who may not be familiar with Kajabi, walk us through what you do, who you are.
Yeah, so at Kajabi, I think the simplest way to put it is we make your knowledge worth more money.
Oh,
Uh, we help everyone from your grandma who wants to monetize the knowledge that she has of cookie baking to industry influencers and everything in between, from religious organizations to people who are just passionate about a mission for a charitable organization or anything in between. So we are, I guess the quick backstory is we are a company that was led by our founder CEO, who was a engineer who made this crazy sprinkler and out of PVC pipe. And
okay.
this is about 10 years ago. He thought it was a good idea for a business, and he wanted to sell it online. Well, turns out shipping a bunch of PVC is really expensive. So he said, well, maybe I could just sell the kind of the way to build this. And that's how this all began. So in the end, software platform to help you sell your knowledge.
I like that. So would I be correct that your customers are both creators and then users of creator content?
Absolutely. I mean, I think we really focus in on the creators. But of course, we're in service of all of their members. So you could think of Kajabi as kind of like a Shopify, but for knowledge entrepreneurs or creators. Yeah.
And do creators have different support requests than a user does? So I would imagine the answer is yes.
Absolutely, yes. So our primary mechanism of support is for our customers. So the member experience, where we jump in and do support members, is for our mobile app experience, because of the fact that there's just no way for our customers to actually support their end users. So generally, our support team focuses on our customers only.
Now, over the course of the last couple of years, have you seen expectations change between what your members and what your creators are looking for? And if so, how?
Yeah, I mean, undoubtedly, there's been very little change overall these last couple of years for all of us, right? No, of course not. This has been a
Business as
enormous,
usual, it's
yeah.
whatever.
This has been an enormous 2-3 years of change for everyone, and with that came. I mean, I'm using grandma a lot today, but I think about like the first time I was talking with my grandma, and she was talking about attending her church service on Zoom, and I'm like, Zoom? You know what Zoom is, grandma? Like, I bought her first iPad. And
Right.
so, like, undoubtedly, the amount of exposure to this industry has it's been catapulted into the future, and like I think we probably would have got there maybe a decade later, but like we took the fast track, because there's so much awareness. And not only that, on the other end of things, I think there's just a general, like, there's so many people's lives were just kind of upended, whether it was losing a job or even just like reconsidering like where you're at because of the different environment. You're working from home and you realize, hey, things could be a little bit different. So in terms of the types of people coming in, we I think originally, leading up pre-pandemic, we had a lot of people who were much more experienced coming to our platform because of the fact that we serve kind of the upper end of that market. Um,
Okay.
so um, the difference has mainly been just the overall like new awareness of maybe a less educated, or not less educated, but less informed customer about the space.
Oh, so that's actually fascinating. So where I love what so your members used to be, let's just say more tech savvy. They were accustomed to online learning. They were accustomed
Yep.
to platforms and figuring stuff out like that. Now what you're saying is you have a more novice group that's coming in, uh, perhaps who just needs a little bit more hand holding.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's. I like to use new. It's just
New.
new. I don't know if the educate. That's why I kind of tried to recant my education statement, because it's new for a lot of these people, and so undoubtedly, we're seeing a different type of customer, and also, of course, different quantity of customers. That was
Right.
another huge shift for us, of course. As with many businesses during the pandemic, we saw an enormous increase, um, due to the extended visibility of the space.
Well, you're spot on because we just launched our CX Trends 2022, and one of the big trends certainly is talking about how service requests have increased pretty substantially over the last year. They increased substantially from 20 to 21, and then we didn't see that go down at all from 21 into 22. And if I remember correctly, in early 21 you had about 75 agents, 30,000 tickets a month. Does that seem probably about
Yeah.
right? I'm going to guess that's not where you are anymore.
Yeah. So we, interestingly enough, and this is very on topic, we probably quadrupled almost overnight. During the initial part of like the pandemic boom. However, we are now like fast forward to the future, and I'm sure we're going to get into some of the details in between, but we're actually trending maybe even a shed lower than where we were, with significantly more user base than we had previously. So I don't know how you want to get into that. That's kind of the, the long story of all of this. So
All right, so let's dive into how your team has handled the increased volume and the different service requests. What did you have to do to implement to make sure that your team was better prepared for this influx of new volume, new users, new creators, new everything, or
yeah,
more everything, I should say?
a lot. And I would like to say that I had predicted it all and properly prepared for all of this. I did not. So we had to, like everyone, we had to react quickly and we had to adapt quickly. And I think I'd have to give kudos to our a previous president, who was like, he had always been like, had this big dream of us launching a ton of webinars just focused on training our customers. And we'd slowly worked our way into this, but like we kind of took this as our, at least the first step, our initial cue, because a webinar is one to many. We
Right.
figured with this crazy increase in volume, if we can just kind of shuffle people into a group room to where, there's probably a few people that actually have the same questions, especially given they're like all brand new customers. It wasn't like, at least for us, we didn't see like a significant spike in existing customers coming back. We did see some because, there's a lot of, just like during the pandemic, you had people who are saying, I need to pause my account, or maybe I need a refund,
Right.
or those type of questions did spike. However, most of it was new customers. So we started with kind of the knee jerk reaction of course, self service and webinars. And we use that as our initial kind of mechanism to get customers in the door, get their questions answered as quickly as possible, and hopefully reduce the amount of wait, because, of course, like, people were sitting in really long queues, as I'm sure anyone who contacted support during that period of time recalls, whether it was us or anyone else. So,
All right, so you clearly have some things that you have to implement because you can't just throw humans at this problem.
yeah.
How does AI machine learning come into play? Like, where did you decide this is the right places for us to experiment?
Yeah, I mean, not only can you not throw humans at this problem, it's also from a financial perspective, it's also not logistically possible because anyone who's ever, you when you bring a human in, it takes at least
It
several
takes
months.
time.
Yeah, before they're fully trained, onboarded, and like
Right.
really ready to provide, make a meaningful impact. So like it just that there wasn't an option no matter what. You could have had all the money in the world, and humans were not going to be the solution to this problem. So it was very, very like the one thing that I would say, like I think we maybe had a slight tiny edge is I think like a lot of people, like we were already kind of at the precipice of like we were thinking about like AI, machine learning, and like we were like where a lot of the people suggested they were in the polls. Maybe just at an early stage, we were starting to
Mhm.
kind of like just become aware and open to it. And so we'd done a little bit of research, and we knew that the foundation for this, like when it comes down to it in this context, like MLAI, like is really all about self-service, and the AI component is a search engine. It's about surfacing the right resources to the user to address whatever question that they're answering. So we knew we were a little bit ahead on the self-service side because it's something that's always been important to us. We certainly weren't where we are today, but we dove right in, at least in the beginning, to that just really getting serious about our self-service strategy.
Now, you had mentioned when we were talking a week or so ago that when you started truly implementing AI and machine learning, it exposed some gaps to you that you weren't anticipating, so that there were some things that I would say were added benefits. Like, what were those, and how did AI help you uncover those?
Yeah, I mean, so the beauty of AI is like for most businesses when you're just starting out, when you have four, five, six, seven, even like 50 people in the room who are working, at your company, the amount of support tickets that you're ingesting as an agent and like the type of conversations that you're having allow you to have a fairly solid feedback loop just naturally. So you kind of know, like if it's just a few agents who are saying, "Oh, that customer keeps complaining about this one feature," you hear it, you see it, you feel it, you talk about it. When you're up, in the thousands upon thousands of ticket range, like that becomes, and your company grows beyond that early phase. Like you're just not having those same conversations anymore, and so you need a better way to understand, like, and keep a pulse on what is happening. And so, in terms of the gaps that you are referring to, like that's where AI, I think, really like we see a lot of promise. Some of the early findings that I think were surprising were like I'm going to focus in on surprise because like I think that's probably the most compelling thing. Some of it was like it was just reaffirming some of the things that we felt and we thought we knew but we didn't know. Like that was really huge for us, just to kind of have some affirmation that the things that we thought were the case actually are reflected in the data. um, Also, like I think probably one of the shockers was I want to say like the amount of, I guess, like for example, like we have a settings page in our software application. The amount of tickets that come in for that particular area kind of blew my mind, because it's
Hmm.
fairly simple and like it doesn't seem like a high traffic area of the app. So like that exposed an opportunity for us to like really like get sniper targeted on an area that I don't think I ever would have anticipated. So I guess it covers both ends of like validating what we thought we knew and also exposing things that we didn't.
You've talked a lot about self-service, and so I want to circle back on one of the things that you were talking about video webinars, for example, but there you also use just a lot of videos in your self-service. Was Talk to me about the logistics. How are those created? Who's doing that creation? Is it someone in your team? Are you outsourcing all that? Like, how are you creating all that fantastic content?
Yeah, I think like many, we started off with anyone who we can pull aside to do it. Like it was that. I think that's how just about everyone starts this journey is, hey, you have a moment, create a video, create an article, pop this in. And like, again, like kind of going back, like the one area to where we were a little bit ahead of the game as it related to this was like we had, I think we had early inclinations like this was the direction we needed to move one way or the other. So like we got serious about self-service early. Like we started with one person. Like you are just the help center person. You're going to be doing nothing. Your full-time job is just creating
And was this
articles.
someone who is an agent initially?
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. And since then, this team has grown to, we have around 6 people on that team now.
And how do you make the determination of what should just be a self-service article and what should be a video?
Everything should be everything.
I love that answer.
Well, I mean, I think one like logistical thing to point out as it relates to like our topic of AI and ML and videos is key here is captioning those because I'm sure there probably is some technology that can listen to a video or watch a video and extract the contents. We don't have that, so it's reliant upon the captions for videos. That was one of the challenges that we faced, and I don't know if that's an area you want to get into, but like that was one of the things because we were so video centric in our help center. It actually kind of we weren't as equipped or as ready for that type of content to be ingested by the AI ML technology.
That's an I don't know that most people would have thought that ahead of time. It was something that you had to experience and then go,
Yeah,
"Ooh, this was maybe not a misstep, but we certainly overlooked this."
sure.
Uh, and so how have you now kind of balanced that out?
Yeah, I mean, thankfully, like the easy answer to it is the or not easy, but the I guess we'll say simple answer to it is captions because there are tons of services that you
Right.
can send off for captioning. Of course, there's some cost associated with that. However, because of the volume, and I realize everyone in terms of volume, like we may seem like really, really, really tiny, or maybe we seem really, really huge compared to a lot of people, but for us, at least volume compared to team size, like this was something that like we had to be very clear on the amount of resources we dedicated to it because it was a big task. We have really a big platform. Like our
Mhm.
platform, like I didn't do it justice in the description purposely. It contains like a website builder, it contains a marketing automation tools, it contains a CRM, it contains the course building platform. So it's technically like 4 pieces of software in one. So like we're not just documenting one thing, we're realistically documenting almost 4 full-fledged feature applications. um yeah, I forget where I was going with that, but I'll let you
Ah, that's all right. So I want to talk. I hate the term deflection, where
yeah.
when people talk about self-service deflected X percentage, but how, how, what is the percentage of support interactions that are solved within your self-service without ever having to get to a human agent?
Yeah, so I mean, we started out on the lower end, and keep in mind like this is very relevant or relative to the industry that you're in. There are probably industries that can see, well, not 100%, that's not, but like see significantly higher. For us, like given the complexity of our software, we kind of went into this with the mindset if we can hit 9 to 10%, like we're doing really well. Like this pays for itself. We actually started out closer to around 12%. We've been since continuing to optimize, and we're up to around 17% now, and we're hoping to get that up to closer to 30.
Okay. And so I would say 17% for you all, you'd consider that a success.
It's a huge success. I mean, given that our target was like 9-10% would be like kind of the baseline for what we were looking at. Yeah, almost double.
So let's talk a bit more about metrics because they are really, really important to Kajabi, as they are for most of
Sure.
our support organizations, right? But who's responsible for the metrics? Is it your organization? Do you have a business analytics team? Like, who's looking at this saying, here's what we have to pay attention to, here's what's important, and here's now who needs to see it?
Yeah, I mean, I would say all of us is the kind of the reality of it. This has to be responsibility. Of course, I'm overarching responsibility for it, but in the end, like, this is something that we all need to be looking at. And part of the reason is, I think you were kind of starting to hint at this a little bit early when you said you didn't like the term deflection. I don't either, because, like, for us, it was absolutely crucial for us to, like, when we were talking with, like, in initial conversations with the vendor that we use Forethought, I said, like, I don't know a lot about this, but, like, this cannot destroy our CSAT. Like, our customers are number one to us. We have to ensure that we are making sure that they are happy 100% of the time. They cannot feel like they just spoke with a bot and
Right.
their service is being diminished. Like, we need to make this better. So, metric wise, like, we actually we do OKRs, whatever you do, company wide. Of course, this is all relevant, but for us, we use satisfaction as kind of a counterbalance. So, like, when we look at deflection, of course, we want to answer more questions. One,
Hmm.
because we believe customers actually appreciate solving a problem, not having to sit in a line and having to
Right.
talk to someone. If you can get an answer really quick, like, and that's really the foundation of, I think, support in general, is like, nobody really wants to have to contact support. They just want to be able to use the application and get it and do the thing that they came in to do. Like, you don't ever really want to. So if we can take the edge off of that process and make it even quicker, that, I think, we've won in that world. So in terms of the metrics, we set up counterbalances to help ensure that, although yes, we want to deflect, or we want to answer questions for customers, we need to ensure that they're constantly happy. And so we look at that as a team, we look at that as an organization in our OKR reviews.
So would you say that satisfaction is your primary metric?
It has to be. Yeah, it has to be. Like, that was something that I think was crucial to us as a business and always has been. Like, we are a very customer centric company, and our customers are loud, they're vocal. They let us know if something isn't right. And so it was like, for a number of different reasons, like, we needed to ensure, like, no, like, of course, at the heart of everything we do is the customer and serving them. And of course, going back to, like, what I just mentioned in the philosophy is, like, we do want to make this better for them, because they don't necessarily want to talk to us, but when they do, we still could not, like, that could not be a bad experience for them. It could
Y-
not just be a robot.
Well, and you mentioned bots. So
Yep.
Tommy wants to know, does Kajabi use an AI chatbot?
So yes, on a couple of different levels, we are, like, looking at the chart. Like, we're in the middle of, like, this, I would say, this rapid, like, movement from kind of the mid stage to advanced. So yes, we do use a chatbot. We're now deploying our first set. We have about 20 workflows going out, as well as, again, the vendor that we use. One of the kind of the foundational reasons why we decided to partner with them was because of the fact that we felt it was less intrusive, it was less body, it wasn't just a,
It was less body. I
yeah,
like.
that's an official term, right? It's in the dictionary. Yeah, we thought it was we thought it was going to provide a more seamless experience for the customer. So in the end, it does not respond with a self-service recommendation unless it's 95-ish% confident that it has the right answer
Ooh.
based upon the all of the previous iterations. So
And where did you get those benchmarks from? Were those, did they help, did your partner help you make those determinations, or were those things that you just based on other research or other historical uh, metrics that you put together?
yeah, it was a mix. I mean, I think um we started out, like, really, like, we would constrain it really high in terms of confidence. Like, we wanted to make sure, like, the worst possible case scenario in my mind when we launched was to have this go out into the wild and then see a wildfire commence of, like, why am I getting bot answers now? Like, we could not let that happen. Like, we wanted to make sure that there was some change management in place, like, just slowly easing everyone into this. Because in the end, like, again, the outcome for us, like, it has to be right for our customers. So we knew that, like, if we could take the time to do this right, in the end, if we have their best interests in mind, like, we'll get this to the right place.
Keenan wants to know if you're using AI in phone or chat.
Chat, yes. We actually do not do phone service at this time, so I don't. I haven't even explored that because
It's not a
I,
channel you're offering
yeah, I
then.
know nothing about phone and AI. Chat, yes. Yeah, we work with the same partner on that one, and that has been a really really fun journey. That's actually where we're deploying those workflows that I just mentioned. So yes.
We are, I told you this was going to go so fast. Uh,
Is it already out of
I have
time?
time. We are getting close. So I have a great question for you. I think that's going to wrap up some of the questions that are coming in now. But what advice would you share for people who are at that beginning stage for AI and ML? Like, you know, give us the top three things that they must do if they're at that beginning stage.
Wow, I must have been verbose earlier because I can't believe we're already at the end. But I mean, I think I'll condense this down to one, and that's focus on your self service strategy first. Like that is key to success in this space. Like if you're going to do one thing, make sure you have a solid service strategy. Hopefully, starting out with written, so you don't make the same mistake, or you don't have to learn through that process. I guess if you have a lot of video content, start captioning it earlier. But self service is really really key because a bot cannot answer a question. Like machine learning isn't going to learn anything unless it has something to ingest to feed back to your customer. So self-service.
Start with self-service. And it sounds like to me that that actually was part of your implementation plan. Is that correct? Like, did you have that mapped out with self-service as the foundational piece of your AI strategy?
I mean, I would like to say yes,
Oh,
this
come
was
on. You see?
all preconceived and like yes, part of the grand scheme. Like we got there. Like we believed in self-service from the beginning, and so that really set us up for success as it related to this endeavor. I mean, if I'm being honest, no, I don't think that it was like this is step one and now we'll move on to step two. But yeah, self-service has always been important to us.
Well, I think that is excellent advice, and I want to thank you so much for sharing everything with us. Any last words on what your AI is going to do in the upcoming year?
Oh boy, I don't know how much time we have, but like
You have 1 minute.
oh boy, I'm excited about so much. Like I'm excited about creating very personalized experiences for our customers more than anything because what machine learning AI, just technology in general can do is it can do things that agents cannot do on their own. It can surface information that it would take agent minutes or hours to accomplish. So that's where I'm most excited is personalization.
Is personalization, and along with that personalization also comes some great efficiency
Of
gains,
course.
which is good for your customers as well as your agents, so that they're
Yes.
not spending all that time working on things uh, that they don't need to. And that is it for today. And so thank you, Jared, for sharing your expertise, and thank you to everyone for sharing a moment. Thank you for asking questions and being such an engaged audience. You can give feedback by clicking on that open poll, which should be on the right-hand side of your screen. So please go ahead and let us know what you thought about today. And we have a big, exciting CX Trends event happening on February 10th. And this is where we're going to share the 5 customer service traps to avoid in 2022. And you'll hear from experts like Matt Dixon of Customer Effort Score fame and the Nagoski twins, who are going to share some ideas around preventing burnout, which I think many of us, especially our agents, are feeling these days. And then please join us on February 24th when we will talk with the Director of Support from Compass on the next CX Moment. So until then, be safe, be helpful, and we'll chat again soon. Thank you very much, everyone.